Hello. I'm going to start by giving you an introduction to this speech. This speech is about a rain project in Gothenburg. There are some references to Irish culture in this speech, so let me just go through that terminology with you first. I'll mention the Child of Prague statue. I'll mention Fáilte, Ireland. There will be references to W.B. Yeats and Seamus Heaney. And I'll also mention Sligo. Then there are two names you might want to make note of. Those are King Gustav II Adolf and Jens Iversen. And I'll explain in the speech who those people are. And now I'll get started. Ladies and gentlemen, there was no possibility of taking a walk that day. That's the opening line of Charlotte Bronte's classic novel, Jane Eyre. And the reason there was no possibility of taking a walk that day was because it was raining, and Jane had to spend the whole day indoors. I can empathise with Jane because I'm from the west of Ireland, where it rains a lot. I've lost count of the number of weddings, birthdays, anniversary parties and other celebrations that have been spoiled by rain. And that's in spite of extensive deployment of the Child of Prague statue. Well, for the weddings, at least. I'm also a sports fan, and there is no phrase that strikes dread more into the heart of a sports fan than rain suspends play. It usually happens when the team I'm supporting are hitting a purple patch. But what if rain didn't have to be a showstopper? What if rain didn't have to rain on your parade, if I could put it like that? Well, in Gothenburg, it isn't a showstopper. Gothenburg, in case you don't know, is a city in the southwest of Sweden. It rains there about 40% of the time. Back in 2018, the city was celebrating the 400th anniversary of its founding. It was founded by King Gustav II Adolf, in case you're interested. Anyway, to celebrate the 400th anniversary of the founding of the city, Gothenburg launched a rain project called Rain Gothenburg. The modest aim of this project was to make Gothenburg the best city in the world when it's raining. Now, I think there are two interesting things about this. The first is that Gothenburg must be the first place to admit that it actually gets a lot of rain. Most tourist agencies show us pictures that were taken on lovely sunny days, and they try to convince us gullible tourists that it'll be like that when we visit. I'm looking at you, Fáilte, Ireland. But in Gothenburg, it rains for 150 days a year. So statistically speaking, you're likely to encounter rain if you visit. But the city's coming right out with that and admitting it, not making any attempt to hide it. The second thing that's interesting about Gothenburg's rain project is it begs the question, how do you become the best city in the world when it's raining? Do you provide world-class museums, interactive art galleries, high-tech cinemas, or other indoor attractions? Well, I suppose you could, but that's not the approach Gothenburg is taking. They're taking the approach that the rain should be regarded as an asset, that the rain should be embraced, as it were. They've appointed an artist and designer to lead their rain project. His name is Jens Iversen. And I just want to talk to you now about some of the initiatives that Mr. Iversen has put in place in the city. Firstly, he's set up a number of rain playgrounds. Now, what's a rain playground, you may well ask? Well, it's a playground where it's more fun to play there when it's raining. So there are dips in the ground. There are large dips in the surface of the playground that fill up with water when it's raining. And of course, those puddles are then bigger and more fun to splash in. There's also a sand pit that gets filled with rain that's channeled down from a pipe down into the sand pit. And then children can play in the sand pit and build rivers or dams or whatever it is they like to build. Another initiative of Mr. Iverson's is that he has set up a trail throughout the city marked with polar bear footprints. But the footprints are only visible when it's raining because he used some special kind of paint. Another initiative he has is that poems, the text of poems, is written on manhole covers. I'm not sure about that one. I don't think that Yeats's Ben Bulben would be quite so evocative, or Seamus Heaney's Midterm Break quite so heartbreaking if I were reading them while rain was slowly dripping down the back of my neck. But anyway, back to Iverson's initiatives. The biggest initiative of all that he had was that he ran a design competition to design a school for Gothenburg. And the aim of that project, of that competition, was to build the world's best school when it's raining. Architectural firms from all around the world took part in this competition, and a firm in Stockholm emerged as winners. And here are some of the features they had in their design for this new school. At one of the entrances to the school, there'll be a waterfall. So water will cascade down at the entrance like you have at a waterfall, and people can walk under that as they enter the school. Now, there isn't any indication yet of how teachers will feel about students coming into their classroom having walked under a waterfall. Another feature is that there will be a canal in the school yard. So water will be channeled from the roof of the school down into this, essentially a hole dug in the schoolyard, and on rainy days it'll function as a canal, while on dry days it can be used for skateboarding. This all sounds great, doesn't it? And pre-pandemic, Jens Iverson travelled to a number of other wet places to spread the gospel of rain. He visited Glasgow, London, Dordrecht and Amsterdam, and he even came to the west of Ireland. He came to Sligo, where he told the residents there that they needed to reimagine their relationship with rain. I'm sure that the rain-soaked residents of Sligo liked that. Ladies and gentlemen, it might sound like I'm being flippant, but I'm really not. This is a serious issue. Climate change means that all of our cities are going to get wetter. We're going to have to adapt to that and maybe even enjoy it if we can. I'd like to conclude by saying that I salute Gothenburg and I salute Mr. Iverson for their efforts in embracing rain. And I'd also like Mr. Iverson to know that if he wants to take on the challenge of a whole country, not just one city, I can give him Ireland's number. We're not called the Emerald Isle for nothing, you know.